Welcome to this session of Object-Oriented Analysis and Design. In this session, we are going to discuss about adding attributes to the domain model. So we are assuming that you have already identified domain concept, you have added relationship in form of association, you identified multiplicity among domain concept. Now in each domain concept, it is time to add attributes. Now we know that simple meaning of attribute is what? So that are properties of entities. So in domain model, our entities are nothing but domain concept. So for example, this is a domain concept. Item is the domain concept. So which all properties are there for this domain concept? Now here you need to remember that you are an analyst, and analyst is actually drawing the domain model. Analyst is actually identifying the attributes. So here you should not become too much implementation oriented. For example, in item, no need to identify something which is programmatic representation. For example, if you want to take item ID, suppose you are having a programming background and you are working as an analyst, so you will take some ID, unique ID to identify each item uniquely. So not necessary to add such kind of attribute which will be programming attribute. For example, if you are having an employee domain concept, so if you are having an employee domain concept, so employee ID, so EMP roll number, EMP number can be the valid attribute type, but no need to take programming kind of attribute which is ID to identify each object of employee uniquely. So it is like thinking in a programmer's way. You are an analyst, so whatever domain reflects, that many attributes you should identify in the domain concept. So if you say sale transaction, so sale is one of the domain concept. So what can be the attribute of sale? So now here you should not think about sale ID, because this is like a programming attribute. This is not a domain attribute. So what can be the domain attribute? Date at which sale is happening, time at which sale is happening. So date and time we are identifying as attributes of sale. So in this way, all the attributes you need to add into domain concept. Now that attribute should be simple in nature. Let us see which kind of attributes you should identify and which kind of attributes you should avoid. So your attributes should be simple in nature. So whatever you are looking at the system, so inside the system whatever attributes you can see, simply those attributes you can add in domain concept. You should not think like a programmer and add more and more attributes. The data type of these attributes should be very simple, like primitive data type or pure data values like boolean, date, number, string. So this kind of data type should be there. Now you don't have to think like a programmer, and number can be like integer, float, long. So this is like C programming jargon. So long, then unsigned. So if you are using such a data type, you are thinking like a programmer. Don't do that. So just say number. Maybe you can say fractional number. Maybe you can say real number. Maybe you can say integer number. But you cannot go beyond and think like a programmer to add very specific data type. They should be general purpose data type like boolean, date, number. These are like pure data values. Don't use complex attributes. For example, name is simply the string attribute, that is fine. But look at this current register is variable of a type of register. Okay, don't have such complexity in domain model. Don't have such complex attribute in domain model. So you should identify simple attribute like name, date, number. So that kind of simple attribute. So avoid some attribute which is of data type sale. So sale is appearing as an attribute of some other domain concept. You should avoid. So airport itself is one domain concept, and suppose it is appearing as the attribute in other domain concept, it is becoming very complex. So you should not become this complex. Again, you should not think about derived attributes. For example, if you are saying sale, so sale will contain date of sale, that is fine, time of sale, that is fine. Now you should not think about sale amount. So amount to hold the total bill amount. So sale amount. You should not think about this. Okay. Only you should limit attribute identification up to pure data values like date, time. Whenever further in a design phase, this domain model will be refined further, so some derived attribute can be added to that. So sale amount is the derived attribute, total amount is the derived attribute. So you should not add those attributes in the domain concepts. So in this way, you should identify simple attributes and put that in domain concept. So that's all about adding attributes to domain concept. Thanks for watching this session. See you in the next lecture.